how are you all? My name is Kay Angela Torres. I am your teacher for today. But first, let me give to you our objective for today. So, at the end of the lesson, students should be able to first analyze a literary selection or piece using a formalist approach and be able to differentiate the elements that the piece have.
Let's start with the warm-up activity before we begin the talk. This activity known as a mind game. To answer this, as we know, we have 26 alphabet letters. So, find the letters listed below to construct the word we are looking for. That's right. The first word that we are looking for is the formalist approach. So now, for the second round is this. That's right. The word that we are looking for is Beowulf. So, I hope you have now the idea what will be our discussion or what will be our topic for today.
Beowulf is the first surviving epic written in the English language, though its author remains mysterious. The circumstances of the poem's creation are hotly debated by scholars. Many also believe the story was conveyed orally before it took the form of a manuscript, since the only existing copy dates back to the late 10th century. Originally composed in Old English, the epic draws from early Germanic legend and is set in pagan Scandinavia. It recounts the saga of Beowulf, a Geat warrior who defends the Danish kingdom and then his own from various bloodthirsty monsters. The poem opens on Hrothgar, the king of the Danes, who plans to celebrate his reign by building a grand hall called Heorot. When the hall is finished, Hrothgar holds a large feast that attracts the attention of Grendel, a monster descended from the biblical Cain. Grendel attacks during the night, leaving Hrothgar and his thanes to discover the bloodshed the next morning. This marks the beginning of Grendel's reign of terror. 12 years pass, and news of Grendel's campaign against the Danes spreads to another tribe, the Geats. Beowulf, a Geat thane, decides to help the Danes, sailing to Denmark with his best warriors. King Hrothgar gladly accepts Beowulf's help. To honor Beowulf's arrival, Hrothgar holds another feast at Heorot. During the celebration, a thane named Unferth engages Beowulf in a boasting match, accusing him of losing a swimming contest. But Beowulf corrects him with a story of his heroic victory in the contest, prompting the Danish queen, Walstheo, to award him the ceremonial mead cup. Beowulf tells the queen he will either kill Grendel or be killed. Hrothgar is moved and promises Beowulf all of his gold if Beowulf should defeat the monster. Beowulf and his warriors spend the night in Heorot. Sure enough, Grendel arrives, gobbling up one of Beowulf's men. Beowulf fights Grendel unarmed, managing to catch the monster's arm in a death grip. Writhing in pain, the monster tears away, leaving his arm in Beowulf's grasp. Grendel slinks off to his lair, where he dies. Overjoyed at the defeat of Grendel, the Danes nail the creature's arm to the walls of Heorot as a trophy, bathing Beowulf and his men in riches. They hold another feast for Beowulf, where Hrothgar's minstrel composes songs honoring Beowulf as the greatest hero in Danish history. However, once the revelers are asleep, Grendel's mother arrives, seeking revenge. She manages to snatch one of Hrothgar's counselors and retreats to her lair. Hrothgar points Beowulf in the direction of the monster's lair, and Beowulf persuades the king to accompany him there. Upon arriving, Beowulf takes a sword from Unferth and dives into a deep lake. When he reaches the bottom, Beowulf finds Grendel's mother waiting to attack. He uses Unferth's sword, but finds it useless against the creature, and wrestles with the monster until he spots another sword, which he uses to slice off Grendel's mother's head. Before leaving, he notices Grendel's dead body and cuts off his head too. Meanwhile, the Danes have given up all hope of Beowulf's safe return. But to their shock, Beowulf surfaces carrying Grendel's head and the hilt of his sword, which melted in the heat of Grendel's blood. The men bring Beowulf back to Heorot, where yet another celebration takes place. Before returning home to Geatland, Beowulf promises an alliance with Hrothgar forever, which the king gratefully reciprocates. Beowulf and his men return home, regaling the great king and queen, Hygelac and Heid, with tales of their victory. Impressed with Beowulf's bravery, Hygelac gives him half the kingdom. When Hygelac is killed in battle, Beowulf becomes king of the Geats. In the 50th year of Beowulf's reign, a new monster begins to terrorize his kingdom. A fire-breathing dragon seeking revenge on a Geat servant who stole a golden cup from its lair, which houses an ancient treasure trove. Finding the cup missing, the dragon goes on a fiery rampage, destroying Beowulf's great hall. With a heavy heart, Beowulf decides to face the dragon alone, knowing this battle may be his last. The servant who stole the cup leads him to the dragon's lair, where Beowulf attempts to defeat the beast, but is outmatched. All of his warriors flee except one, Wiglaf, who vows to stay by Beowulf's side. Together, they face the dragon. But just as Beowulf manages to behead the monster, the dragon bites him, sending a lethal poison through his body. With his dying breath, Beowulf tells Wiglaf that he should inherit the dragon's treasure. Wiglaf returns to the Geats with the news of their king's death, declaring that no one should inherit the treasure, and scolding the warriors who fled for their cowardice. Throwing the monster's body into the sea, the Geats place the treasure trove inside Beowulf's funeral mound, mourning the ablest of all world kings.
The Saxon epic poem from the 8th century about the knight who fought a monster in a medieval castle served as the foundation for this post-apocalyptic future tale. So let me give to you the characters of Beowulf. First, Beowulf. He is the great hero who battled the dragon Grendel's mother and the monster Grendel. Second, Grendel. Grendel is an evil creation of Cain, mother of the Grendel, who exacts retribution on her son. Then the dragon. The dragon was a large, fierce serpent who assaulted Beowulf in Gaiath, Herod's king, in Hrothgar. Wiglaf is a young kingman who sticks around to support Beowulf in his battle with the dragon. Beowulf, a traveler in this tale, hears of Grendel, a man-eating beast that stalks the outpost at night and eats soldiers who are imprisoned there. The settings of Beowulf is Beowulf set in Scandinavia around the year 50 AD. Beowulf takes place during the Anglo-Saxon era. The Anglo-Saxons are believed that the best people were courageous soldiers. Beowulf, the king, personifies devotion and courage. especially when he goes head-to-head with Grendel and his mother. Grendel is from Denmark, but Beowulf is from Norway, Great Land. He sails by water in order to battle the dreadful demon, and their combat is held at Heorot Hall. Grendel's mother seeks retribution for her son's death. Years later, she confronts Beowulf in the marsh where she lives. Beowulf must fight a fire-breathing dragon in his own country, but at the cost of his own life. Beowulf, the significance of creating one's identity, conflicts between the heroic code and other moral codes, and the distinctions between a good soldier and a good monarch. So many interpreters have seen the poem as a Christian allegory in which Beowulf battles the powers of evil and darkness as the champion of virtue and light. His selfless passing is not viewed as tragic, but rather as symbol and conclusion of the good, some might have it even say too good hero's life. The conclusion of Beowulf is that the poem Beowulf comes to a close when Beowulf engages in battle with the mouth fire dragon, knowing full well that it might be his last battle. With the aid of Wiglaf, who stays by his side, he is able to kill the dragon, although Beowulf is fatally wounded and eventually dies. Narrator. Beowulf was first presented for entertainment by Scops, who would recite the epic before the monks who wore it down. The narrator is written in the third person so that the reader can gain a deeper grasp of the characters and their lands' histories and backgrounds. The happening in Grendel's lair are also presented since the narrator wants for the viewers to know what the characters do not. Relationships. Throughout the epic, the different cantos represents Beowulf's journey into becoming the ultimate hero of the land. For example, in the battle with Grendel, Beowulf defeats a ferocious monster named Grendel, and this battle marks the birth of his heroism. After Grendel's downfall, Beowulf must battle with the monster's mother in the battle with Grendel's mother. These two cantos are connected to the main idea of the whole story, the idea that Beowulf was morphed into a great and noble hero that no one can ever dream of becoming. He gave his life but was victorious in the end. What we can learn from the Beowulf is that bravery, honor, and loyalty as morals in Beowulf. Since it originated in oral tradition, the epic Beowulf has no known author. It does, however, serve as a representation of the Anglo-Saxon culture it originates from. As a work of art, it also serves its purpose of moral instructions, today serving as a demonstration of what values were important to the Anglo-Saxon people, especially seen through the characters of Beowulf and Wiglaf. The poem Beowulf illustrates three important morals and its time. First, the bravery, second, honor, and third, the loyalty. Beowulf, the hero of the poem, exhibits great bravery in everything he does. Before facing Grendel, Beowulf took off the helmet and handed his attendant the patterned sword, deciding that using a weapon or protection of any kind would make the battle too easy. Shortly after doing this, he boasts, "When it comes to fighting, I count myself as dangerous any day as Grendel." Reckless and impressive actions like this demonstrates Beowulf's courage and daring and make him appear more heroic. Over 50 years later, Beowulf shows the same qualities when fighting the dragon, as does Wiglaf, who aids him and does not stop him, even as flames lapped and chilled. Shared in the boss, the body armor on the young warrior was useless to him. Neither man could be deterred by lack of defense because both demonstrated heroic bravery. As the story's great and glorified hero, Beowulf also demonstrates honor. When he throws away his armor and sword before leaving for his fight with Grendel, he explains that his opponent has no idea the arts of war or shield of wordplay. He therefore decides that there will be no weapons, therefore, for either this night. In accordance with the morals of the time, a kill does not bring satisfaction unless it is fair. Meanwhile, Grendel, the poem's malevolent villain, displays a lack of honor when the epic states he grabbed 30 men from their resting place. The act of attacking when in their sleep, when they cannot defend themselves, shows how morally inferior Grendel is to the honorable Beowulf. Wiglaf later shows honor in his own way when he refuses to withdraw in battle, saying, "A warrior will sooner die than live a life of shame." Retreating would be shameful and therefore dishonorable, which is not acceptable to a good man like Wiglaf. Many of his fellow soldiers, however, did just that, and at Beowulf's funeral, Wiglaf pointed out their lack of honor with attempting, saying, "I would rather my body were rubbed in the same burning blaze as my gold griever's body than go back home bearing arms." Here, Wiglaf proves himself the better man because he has honor, while the others, who willingly abandon their king in battle, clearly do not. And lastly, Beowulf and Wiglaf both show outstanding loyalty throughout the piece. All the Beowulf's actions are clearly motivated by loyalty, starting with his decision to help the Danes. Beowulf's fathers once started a feud, which Hrothgar helped to end. Hrothgar recalls, "Let go. Acknowledge me with oath of allegiance." Beowulf rallied with his men to fight a fearsome monster, not for the glory of it, but so that he could help his father to repay his debt. Many years later, Wiglaf shows his loyalty and devoted to his king Beowulf by following him into the fray when no one else did, promising, "I shall not stand by you." In the end, this loyalty reveals Wiglaf's valor, proving him to be just a heroic character of Beowulf. The character is Beowulf demonstrates three of the most important morals at the time of the story's creation: bravery, honor, and loyalty. The character of Beowulf clearly exemplifies these traits, but Wiglaf, a comparatively small character, does not just as well. In the end, his moral at the day when he shows all three at once by jumping to Beowulf's aid while fighting the dragon. Together, these men form a representation of the moral ideal in early Anglo-Saxon culture.